wake up in a bed that cradles your body just right, the temperature of your room perfectly adjusted to your preferences. No alarm, just a soft chime from your phone, followed by a scroll through notifications that echo the same rhythm. Everything is fine. Coffee brews itself. Groceries are delivered. Entertainment waits for you in infinite supply. Every potential discomfort has been engineered out of your day. But somewhere beneath the perfectly curated ease, there's a whisper. It says, something's not right. You silence it with a tap. Maybe with a show, maybe with a snack, maybe with another dopamine scroll through a feed tailored to soothe, never to shake. And yet, each night before sleep when the world is quiet, it returns. Why does your life feel so numb, despite how good everything seems? You can't quite put your finger on it. Nothing is wrong, technically. You're not in pain, you're not starving, and you're not in danger. But you're also not alive, not in the primal, soul-igniting sense. You are sedated. Comfort has become your cage. This is the paradox of our age. We have eliminated struggle in pursuit of peace, and in doing so, have also eliminated the very friction that gave life its meaning. We mistake ease for happiness. We confuse safety with purpose. We equate convenience with freedom. And all the while, something deep within us begins to atrophy. What if the greatest danger to your soul isn't hardship but comfort? Think of it this way. Every muscle in your body requires resistance to grow. When it doesn't encounter strain, it weakens. The same is true for your spirit. A life free of challenge becomes a life free of transformation. But here's the kicker. Most people don't even notice it happening. Because comfort isn't a thief that kicks down the door. It's a gentle lullaby that rocks you into stillness. When did comfort become your identity? When did you stop taking risks? Not because they were impossible, but because they were uncomfortable. When did you trade your dreams for routines, your courage for predictability, your fire for a familiar fog? And when, if ever, did you stop to ask, is this really living, or am I just not dying? This isn't a condemnation, it's a confrontation, one that invites you to peer into the hollow shell that modern life can become when all our energy goes toward avoiding discomfort instead of embracing growth. Our ancestors braved wild forests, violent storms, and existential threats. They endured agony, loss, and chaos, but they also felt things with a depth we rarely touch. Today, our biggest enemy is inconvenience. Our dragons are notifications. Our battlefield is a couch. But here's the secret no one tells you. The soul was never designed for ease. It was designed for elevation. And elevation always demands resistance. So ask yourself honestly, are you living a life that feels more like sedation than symphony? You may not be in crisis, but you may be in slow decay. And that's the quiet horror of it all. Comfort doesn't kill you fast. It just keeps you asleep long enough to forget that you were ever awake. Before we dive deeper, consider this. What if the greatest trap of the modern world isn't poverty, fear, or even oppression, but the sweet, invisible hand of comfort that convinces you you're free while silently clipping your wings? Let's go deeper. It's not just a preference, it's a programmed instinct, a survival mechanism deeply embedded in the architecture of your brain. For thousands of years, the human organism has equated safety with stillness, and stillness with survival. To our ancestors, any form of discomfort, hunger, cold, uncertainty, meant danger. So evolution encoded a simple message into our biology. Avoid pain, seek pleasure, conserve energy, reduce risk. But what happens when a species built for danger evolves into a world engineered to eliminate it? You were designed to run from lions, not reply to emails. You were meant to face starvation, not order food with a thumbprint. Your nervous system was built to react to sudden change, chaos, challenge, not monotony, routine, and artificial predictability. In a world where true threats have been replaced by simulations of stress, your brain still acts like it's saving you when in reality, it might be slowly dismantling you. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." And that is the heart of the issue. Comfort, in its modern form, is no longer a temporary reprieve from suffering. It has become a perpetual escape from self-confrontation. We no longer seek rest to recover. We seek rest to avoid. Avoid what? The existential vacuum Viktor Frankl described, the gnawing sense that our lives lack purpose beyond consumption and distraction. The shadow self Jung spoke of, the parts of us we repress, hide, or refuse to integrate. The inner abyss that Nietzsche warned about, the one that stares back at you when you stare too long into the void. These aren't just philosophical abstractions. They're lived realities, buried beneath dopamine loops, endless content, and the lie that happiness is the absence of discomfort. We are not addicted to comfort because it's pleasurable. We are addicted to it because it's numbing. And numbness, when you are spiritually starved, feels safer than clarity. Here's the tragedy. When you wrap your life in comfort, you insulate yourself not only from pain but from revelation, from transformation, from depth. And without depth, you cannot grow. You merely sustain. In a world where everything is instant, effort feels offensive. We believe life should flow, not fight. And so we demonize friction, when in fact, friction is what shapes us. Arthur Schopenhauer, the pessimistic philosopher of pain, believed that suffering was not only inevitable but necessary. To live is to strive. To strive is to suffer. But in that suffering, we find transcendence. His words echo a disturbing truth. When you strip life of all struggle, you strip it of all meaning. Modern psychology supports this in subtle but profound ways. Consider the hedonic treadmill effect. No matter how much pleasure or comfort we attain, our emotional baseline resets. Today's luxury becomes tomorrow's expectation. This is why new phones, bigger homes, better jobs don't fulfill. They just temporarily distract us from the deeper void. So we chase upgrades, we optimize schedules, we tweak routines, but we don't wake up. Because waking up would mean confronting the terrifying possibility that we've built entire lives atop sand foundations designed not for meaning, but for efficiency, for avoidance, for illusion. Jean-Paul Sartre warned that man is condemned to be free. Freedom in its truest form is not ease, it is responsibility. The responsibility to define your life in a world that offers no blueprint. And that burden is so heavy, most people would rather live in the illusion of purpose than bear the weight of creating one. This is why comfort is so dangerous. Because it makes the illusion feel real. It rewards you for inaction. It applauds you for staying the same. It quietly applauds your obedience to a system that profits from your sedation, one that keeps you scrolling, spending, sitting, submitting. Comfort is the new opiate. And unlike the old ones, it comes with praise. But what if that praise is poison? What if your lack of discomfort isn't a sign of peace, but of paralysis? Our society trains us to believe that the good life is the easy life. That peace is the absence of effort. That ambition is hustle porn. That passion is privilege. That comfort is the destination. But the deepest parts of you know better. The animal in you craves risk. The artist in you aches for unknowns. The soul in you burns for trials that test your essence, not just your patience. You weren't made for this glass box of convenience. You were made for wilderness, for mountains that blister your feet, for nights that question your sanity, for choices that demand your soul. And until you return to that crucible of uncertainty, of effort, of discomfort, you will never know who you truly are. It starts subtly. You stop saying yes to plans that require effort. You avoid phone calls because texting is easier. You skip hard conversations because silence feels safer. You tell yourself you're protecting your peace, when in reality, you're just protecting your avoidance. Then one day, you wake up and realize you no longer know yourself. Your goals are vague. Your friendships feel performative. Your routines are hollow. The fire inside you, whatever used to make you feel alive, has dimmed into an ember that barely glows. And still, your life appears fine. Nothing is technically broken, but nothing is fully alive either. This is the unseen rot that comfort brings. It doesn't destroy you from the outside. It dissolves you from the inside. Consider how comfort alters identity. When life no longer challenges you, it no longer refines you. Your identity calcifies. You become the sum of your habits, not the architect of your becoming. You start living by default rather than by design. Your brain, hardwired for efficiency, begins to automate your existence. You eat the same meals, visit the same places, have the same conversations with the same people. Cognitive scientists call this automatization, where neural pathways form deep ruts of habit. The more you avoid discomfort, the deeper the rut. Eventually, you are no longer making choices. Choices are making you. Now look outward, at relationships. Real connection demands effort, vulnerability, discomfort, the willingness to be misunderstood, to hear hard truths, to show up imperfectly. But comfort convinces us we're better off ghosting than confronting, curating than connecting, managing perceptions rather than revealing truths. The result? Surface-level intimacy. Digital friendships that feel close but lack emotional nourishment. Relationships based not on depth, but convenience. We begin to edit ourselves for others, unconsciously becoming characters in each other's highlight reels. Comfort teaches us that ease equals safety. But the truth is, the most meaningful connections in life are forged in emotional friction, not in the pristine avoidance of it. And what about love? Love is inherently risky. To love is to surrender control. It's to stand emotionally naked and say, "Here I am, please don't leave." But when you've been conditioned by a culture of comfort, vulnerability starts to feel like recklessness. You want love's rewards without love's demands. So you protect your heart. You numb your desire. You say, "I'm focusing on myself," or "I'm not ready," when really, you're terrified of the vulnerability that love requires. You want the feeling of closeness without the discomfort of being seen. Comfort creates ghosts of love, polished images, flirtations with no follow-through, affection with expiration dates. Romance becomes performance art measured in emojis, curated playlists, and swipe-left distances. Now consider your dreams. Comfort doesn't kill dreams with a dagger, it kills them with a blanket. It makes the pain of never trying feel less urgent than the pain of temporary failure. So you tell yourself, "Soon." You say, "When I'm ready." You wait for clarity that will never come. You mistake delay for strategy, hesitation for wisdom, and year after year passes. By the time you realize that comfort was the enemy all along, you've already made peace with mediocrity. Comfort numbs the ache of the unlived life. And here's the deeper horror. This isn't just about individual loss. It's collective. A society addicted to comfort becomes a society allergic to truth. We silence voices that challenge us. We cancel ideas that make us uncomfortable. We redefine freedom as insulation and growth as aggression. The collective becomes a bubble, and dissent becomes a threat not because it's dangerous, but because it's disruptive. Comfort breeds fragility. Psychologist Jonathan Haidt refers to this in The Coddling of the American Mind, explaining how well-intentioned protection from discomfort can create generations that are less resilient, less critical, and more emotionally brittle. When safety becomes the supreme virtue, everything else becomes dangerous, especially thinking. Nietzsche warned us long ago, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But a world that chases comfort above all else forgets its why. And without a why, even the mildest hardship feels unbearable. Comfort's final consequence is despair, not dramatic, cinematic despair, but quiet, anesthetized despair. The kind that doesn't scream or cry. It just stares, scrolls, consumes, sleeps, repeats. You feel it in the anxiety that has no name, in the sadness you can't explain, in the moments where you ask yourself, why do I feel so empty when nothing is wrong? Because something is wrong? You've been living inside a soft prison, a padded cell made of convenience, and every time you avoided discomfort, you added another layer to its walls. But you don't have to stay there. Not everyone lives this way. Some break free. Some dare to chase the flame again, to run toward struggle, not from it. They look discomfort in the eye and say, I remember you. Let's dance. And when they do, something awakens. A part of them long buried beneath comfort's smothering blanket. A part that screams not in pain but in ecstasy. The soul. Something inside you stirs, not out of rage, but remembrance. You catch a flicker of the person you used to be before the routines, before the numbing, before the easy answers. You remember fire. You remember hunger. You remember dreaming so hard it made your chest hurt. That's the first crack in the wall, the beginning of rebellion. But here's the truth. Rebellion isn't loud at first. It's not a roar. It's a refusal to keep sleeping, a refusal to keep scrolling, a refusal to keep existing in a life that doesn't ignite you. And with that refusal comes a terrifying freedom. Because breaking free from comfort doesn't mean doing something wild or reckless, it means doing something real. It means choosing truth over ease, growth over pleasure, soul over sedation. Let's be clear. Comfort is a drug, and like any addiction, withdrawal is inevitable. The moment you step away from the warm cocoon of predictability, your body will panic. Your mind will scream. You'll crave the familiar even as it poisons you. But that's the price of waking up. Nietzsche said, one must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star. The rebellion begins by allowing that chaos, by no longer fearing it, by no longer medicating it away with noise and numbness. So how do you rebel? Start small, but start honestly. Disrupt your patterns. Take a different route to work. Wake up earlier than comfort allows. Speak the truth in a moment when silence is easier. You're not doing this for novelty, you're doing it to break the trance. Do something that hurts in the right way. Run until your lungs burn. Sit in silence until your mind screams. Say the hard thing to someone you love. Write the dream you've buried. The discomfort you feel is not pain, it's resurrection. Seek voluntary struggle. Choose resistance before life chooses it for you. Cold showers, early mornings, deep conversations, public speaking, weightlifting. Learning something so difficult it humbles you. Choose the thing that stretches you until you almost snap, and then breathe through it. Let go of the lie that you're too late. You're not late. You're just early in the decision to wake up. Most people never do. Most will die in padded silence. The fact that you feel something stirring is proof. The rebellion has already begun. But be warned, when you begin to rebel, the world will not applaud. People will look at you strangely. Why are you waking up so early? Why aren't you drinking with us? Why are you quitting that job? Why are you choosing uncertainty? Because you're choosing you, the real you, the one buried beneath layers of survival strategies, social expectations, and fear. The you that knows you weren't born to scroll through existence, but to shake the ground when you walk. This is not self-help. This is soul warfare. You are fighting for your life. And the battle isn't out there, it's in your choices. In the seconds where comfort whispers, stay, and your soul screams, move. You may fail. You may fall back into comfort. That's okay. Because rebellion isn't perfection, it's persistence. Even the smallest act of discomfort willingly embraced becomes a revolution against everything that wants to keep you sedated. And the more you lean into it, the more you begin to feel again. Feel awe. Feel fear. Feel your muscles ache from effort. Feel your heart race from risk. Feel tears that aren't triggered by a screen, but by something real, something earned. You begin to remember what aliveness feels like. The rebellion also means redefining your values. We've been taught that a good life is a safe life. But what if the good life is a dangerous one, a life filled with risk, with passion, with stakes that matter? Viktor Frankl once said, "What man actually needs is not a tensionless state, but rather the striving and struggling for a worthwhile goal." That's your compass now. Not pleasure, not peace, but the pursuit of something so meaningful, it's worth suffering for. Choose something worth bleeding for, and you will never again mistake comfort for happiness. Want a quiet rebellion? Begin each day by asking, what discomfort am I willing to face today for the sake of becoming more whole? What truth am I avoiding because it's inconvenient? What fear am I bowing to that's disguising itself as realism? And most importantly, what would I do if I stopped making comfort my God? When you start living that question, the rebellion becomes irreversible. You'll look around and see others still asleep, still chasing status, ease, validation. But instead of judging them, you'll ache for them. Because you were once them, because part of you still wants to be. But now, you've tasted something different. Not ease, not pleasure, but power. The quiet, unshakable power that comes from walking through fire and realizing you're still standing. You've begun the journey home, not back to safety, but forward into the wilderness of a life where meaning trumps numbness, and every scar is proof that you lived. It's not that you were lazy or broken or unmotivated. It's not that you lacked ambition or courage or drive. The truth, the deepest truth, is that you were lied to. You were told that peace meant stillness, that safety meant fulfillment, that if you could just eliminate friction, silence the noise, soften the edges, you'd be free. But the universe doesn't work that way. It never has. Because the ultimate paradox is this: the life you ache for, the one that feels raw and real and terrifying and beautiful, lives on the other side of everything you've been taught to avoid. And the ultimate truth? You were never meant to be comfortable. You were meant to become. Let that land. Every tear, every bruise, every failure, every gut-wrenching choice you've avoided, those aren't mistakes in your story. They are the story, the curriculum, the sacred fire, the forging ground of your soul. You were not placed on this earth to pass time in perfect stillness. You were placed here to collide with life, to be cracked open, to break and rebuild, to fall and rise, fall again, and rise again with even more clarity. There is a pattern etched into the spine of the cosmos: expansion through resistance. Stars collapse before they shine. Forests burn before they bloom. Muscles tear before they grow. Souls fracture before they awaken. Comfort, when clung to, is a rejection of this sacred cycle. It says, "Let me stay here. Let me not change." But life loves you too much to let you rot in stasis, so it sends discomfort, not as punishment but as invitation. The anxiety you feel, the boredom, the nagging sense that there must be more, those are not signs that something's wrong with you. They're signals. Smoke from a fire deep inside, begging you to come find it. You were never supposed to find yourself in comfort. You were supposed to lose yourself in risk, in service, in creation, in love, in something bigger than your fears. This is the ultimate truth. Discomfort is not the enemy. It's the compass. Pain is not your punishment, it's your portal. You were never meant to feel fine. You were meant to feel everything. We were given a human body not to protect but to experience. A nervous system not to shut down but to awaken. A heart not to survive but to expand. We were meant to ache, to long, To hunger for something no algorithm can feed and no screen can simulate. That hunger, that ache, it's holy. It's the part of you that remembers who you are beneath all the masks. It's the ember still burning beneath the ash. It's the child who once dreamed without limits. The warrior who once fought without certainty. The artist who once created without fear of being seen. You are not your numbness. You are the soul that's trying to scream through it. And once you see that once, you feel that there's no going back. You begin to understand why the pain never left. It wasn't failure. It was friction, the sacred kind. The kind that means you're still alive, still changing, still capable of becoming. Because here's what they don't tell you. The soul does not grow through rest. It grows through fire. Meaning doesn't come from comfort. It comes from tension. Freedom is not the absence of resistance. It is the ability to walk through resistance with your eyes open. And so you stop resisting the storm. You let it strip you, break you, baptize you. You stop trying to feel better and start trying to feel deeper. You stop asking, how can I avoid this? And start asking, what is this here to teach me? You look your life dead in the eye and whisper, I'm ready to remember who I am. And from that moment, you are free. Not free from pain, not free from fear, but free from the lie that those things define you. You become a living paradox, soft and wild, grounded and unpredictable, brave and terrified, no longer seeking comfort-only truth, no longer craving stillness, only growth. You walk into each day not hoping it will be easy, but hoping it will be real. And when it is, when the hard conversation breaks your heart, or the failure stings like acid, or the rejection shreds your ego, you don't run anymore. You bow to it. Because you know now, this is the curriculum. This is life showing you who you are, what you're made of, and how deep your roots really go. And at the end of all of it, when the numbness has lifted, and your scars are your scripture, and your soul has been set ablaze by the very fire you once feared, you'll smile at the ashes. Because you'll know, you didn't come here to be safe. You came here to be set free, and you are.